Her tombstone said she died in 1957, but 40 years later, I gave her a ride home. My name is Joel Brashear, and I am, among a few other things, an Appalachian storyteller. Whenever I'm out telling stories, this is the one folks usually come up and ask about when I'm finished. It might be because I'm in it. Now, this happened around 1997 in the fall. I remember because it was a Friday night after a football game. There was a festival going on downtown and traffic was blocked because of a concert, so I decided to drive home on the back roads across an old strip job. As I was driving, it was a foggy night, I remember, and very cold for October. And I turned up this holler, and as I did, my lights hit this girl walking on the side of the road. And she was wearing a yellow sundress. And I remember thinking at the time, it's awful cold to be wearing something like that out, especially this time of night. It's probably close to 11:30, maybe midnight. So I pulled up next to her and I rolled down my window and I said, "Ma'am, you okay?" And she said, "Yeah, I'm just heading to the house. It's a piece up the road here." And I said, "Well, I ain't trying to be a creep or nothing. I'm heading this way to my house. If you need a ride, I don't care to give it to you." Well, she thought for a minute and then climbed in. Now, I like to think that in this situation, I would have given anybody in need a ride. But the fact that this was a young, attractive blonde walking on the side of the road did not hurt anything. As we were driving, we got to talking, and she said her name was Mary. And we was about the same age, I figured. She said she went to the school the next town over. That's probably why we didn't know one another, because, you know, we're from a small town and all. And we just got to talking, and it was nice, but she was kind of huddled up over in the corner, cold, and I had the heat going as high as it would go, but she was still shivering. So I reached back in the back of my cab of my pickup, and I handed her my Letterman jacket. I said, "Here, wrap up in this. This will be good." So she put it around her shoulders and said, "Thank you." So we went on a piece farther, and we came to what looked like a house there down toward the bottom. I couldn't see real well because it was dark. She said that she lived there at the bottom of those steps. And I said, "Well, you need me to walk you down there?" And she said, "No, thank you. You've been more than kind enough." So I let her out and we said bye. And I drove on to the house. I lived probably about 5-10 minutes from where I dropped her off. And it wasn't until I got to my house that I realized I'd left my Letterman jacket with her. Now, there ain't much more special to a high school senior athlete than his Letterman jacket. But my dad was not about to let me go gallivanting out on a Friday night at midnight chasing after some girl who just so happened to have my Letterman jacket. So I was there at the house for the rest of the night. But the next morning on Saturday, I got up and drove down to where I'd dropped Mary off. And I pulled off the side of the road where I thought I'd let her off. There at the bottom of that hill was a real dilapidated looking house. Looked like hadn't been anybody there for a long time. Well, I started walking down those steps, and up above me I heard this fella yell, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I turned around and there's this old grizzled man. Had on a white tank top covered with stains, big chew of backer, that's looking grouchy as he could be. And I said, "Well, sir, I don't mean to be a bother. I'm just looking for this girl I dropped off here last night. She has my jacket. I was just going to pick it up." He said, "Mary?" I said, "Well, yes, sir. That's who I dropped off." He kind of nodded his head, scratched his chin. He said, "You ain't going to find her in there, son." Which I thought was kind of strange. But I said, "Well, sir, you know when she'll be back?" He shook his head, "No," but he gave me directions. He told me to make a couple lefts, couple rights, way up in this holler. He said I'd find her. Now, guys, this was before cell phones and GPS and all that stuff, and if you know me at all, you know I am terrible with directions. But I followed the best I could to what this old fella had said, and I came to this clearing, and there was a fence out in the back of this field. And I walked out there, and it was a tiny cemetery. And there were 3 headstones there, and there were a couple. And as I was kind of checking out what they said, I noticed some movement over in the woods. It looked like somebody was standing there, and it shook me. And I glanced down, and as I did, I saw Mary's picture, or what looked just like her. The tombstone said, Mary Jenkins, died 1956, beloved daughter. About that time I saw movement again off in the distance. Well, I've always heard if you sense danger, you either get away or go to it. I was young and dumb, so I walked to it. I kept going, hello, hello. Wasn't moving much, just kind of bobbing. Closer I got, I realized my Letterman jacket was hanging on a tree limb just past the graveyard. So I picked it up, folded it, got back in my vehicle. After that day, I did some research. It appears Mary died in a car crash on that road, 1957. And there's been several folks giving her rides home over the years. So if you're traveling a foggy country road, you come across a pretty young girl wearing a yellow dress, just give her a ride home. That's all she needs. Now folks will always ask me, is that a true story? Did that really happen? Well, a wise man once told me, never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Now I'll be back real soon with another one. Till then, you stay safe out there.